Good afternoon. Welcome to the Westport Board of Health December 4th, 2023 meeting, which I'm calling to order. Under Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 20F, this meeting is being recorded. And if you'll join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, let's move first to the Director of Public Health's written report. This covers a holiday week, which is short, so any questions on that?
None, Madam Chair.
Seeing none, we'll move to your verbal report and then to Director of Food Plans.
Okay, so just like you said, it was a short week. I'll just mention that the transfer station truck is in for repair. It's probably going to be tied up for most of this week. Probably get it back next week. That's what it's looking like. Hopefully sooner, but we have the contractor covering all the runs so we can stay open over there. But other than that, I would just say the Board of Health, we have nursing has some, still has flu vaccines left standard, and we have maybe 1 or 2 high dose left. So if anybody's still interested in getting a flu shot, we do have them, so please call the nurse and come on in. Other than that, things have been going pretty well. Just, busy. Been busy with the grant group. It's been a busy week trying to coordinate, the last couple of weeks, just coordinating some things with that, and Olive has been doing a fine job with, helping with all of that. That's really all I have on my verbal.
Okay, I'll just mention, I talked to Matt, we thought maybe it would be timely to do at this point, an annual COVID update, do an e-alert because the cases are starting to rise.
Mm-hmm.
I just looked at the statistics this season, which started July 1st for COVID, that there's been 366 deaths in the state. Fortunately, none in Westport, but it's not insignificant. So, and as we get into the holiday season, just reminding people, encouraging them to get vaccinated and sort of keep awareness around health issues for, they don't want to be sick over the holidays, so. Unless anybody has any objection, I think we'll try
I
to
don't, but I also know RSV is on the rise as well.
Okay.
So I have 2 cases, not in Westport, but in the area of adults having RSV and being pretty sick. So.
Okay. We can mention the RSV vaccine as well. That's targeted for kids under 5 and people over 65. Yep. Yeah, okay. We can add that. Any other thoughts or comments on that?
No.
Okay. Let's move to Director of Food Plans.
Okay, we have a 4-bedroom new construction on 4.96 acre lot for Raymond Parent on Barrard Court, utilizing a quick 4 and a Singular 960DN. We have a 4-bedroom repair on a 49,222 square foot lot, 185 Sanford Road for Imelda Cardozo, utilizing a quick 4. This one is a cesspool upgrade of for a cesspool. We have a 3-bedroom new construction on
Inheritance Way.
Yeah, Inheritance Way. I just spelled it weird. For a Jacob Dean on a 62,032 square foot lot, utilizing a quick 4 and a Singular 960DN. We have a 2-bedroom repair on 6 Cape Bio Lane for Susan McFarland. This one's going to require a deed restriction, a 2-bedroom deed restriction. What do we have here? We have a commercial repair on a 218,235 square foot lot on 197 Forge Road for William McCaskey, Inc. This one's gonna be replacing a cesspool, and it's gonna be utilizing a quick 4. We have a 4-bedroom new construction on a 91,991 square foot lot for 395 Gifford Road for Dorico's RT, utilizing an Elgin and a Singular 960DN. And we have a 4-bedroom repair on a 60,000 square foot lot at 204 Main Road for Michael and Judith Duvall, utilizing a quick 4, and this one is replacing a cesspool.
Okay, I'll just note that we would need total nitrogen testing for the 3 new construction projects. And actually, I checked the 6 Bio Lane, Cape Bio Lane. That is also a cesspool based on pump records. So we are taking 4 cesspools offline based on these approvals. So that's good
3?
progress. 4.
3?
The Cardoza, McFarland, McCaskey, and Duval are all replacing cesspools. The one on Cape Bio Lane says not applicable, but according to the database, and they got a mailing, that was a cesspool based on pump records.
It's just not marked on the spreadsheet. then.
Yeah, a bit, it's based on pump records.
Okay.
And a deed restriction is required for that one. Right, okay.
Yes.
Any other questions or comments on those projects?
Nope. All right, so I move that we endorse the director-approved plans with the following, a few following conditions. An Inheritance Way needs pending Concom, correct? So we need Concom review. 6 Cape Bio Lane needs a 2-bedroom deed restriction. 197 Forge Road and 395 Gifford Road both need Concom reviews.
Total nitrogen testing.
Oh, and the total nitrogen testing on all the new constructions.
Which are Burrard Court, Inheritance Way, and Gifford Road.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to approve those 7 projects with the conditions as noted. All in favor?
Aye.
That's unanimous. Thank you. Okay. All right, moving on to the minutes of November 14th. Questions,
I
comments?
didn't have any.
No, I'm good.
Okay, so I move that we approve the minutes for November 14th, 2023.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that's unanimous. Okay. Moving on to other business. A fee update, a request to institute a late fee for temporary food applications received less than 30 days prior to the event. I'm going to turn it over to Matt for discussion.
So basically, during these temporary events, we have it clearly marked on our applications and everything, on our webpage where the applications are, that we need these applications for these temporary events from the vendors 30 days prior to the event. It takes time to process and schedule inspections when needed and all of that. What's been happening is these events or these event organizers or the vendors coming in early, even with one of the events last week, we had a couple vendors come in a day before, and we had a short week. It was like impossible to try to help them. We want to help people, but they just don't seem to have any regard for what it takes for us to get these processed and put through. So anyways, I just want to institute a late fee when that happens. If they come in, less than 30 days away from the event, with a $50 late fee, just to try to, we generally have the same events year after year in the same locations, and the event organizers, they know that they should be getting these people well ahead of time in, and they don't. And it just creates a lot of turmoil for us. So we'll let the institute a late fee.
One of the things you mentioned to me was that oftentimes it will force staff will have to work overtime in order to process the paperwork in time. So that would cover that cost. Any questions or comments on that?
No, I think it's a good incentive.
Yeah.
I agree.
I would entertain a motion to adopt a $50 late fee for temporary food applications received less than 30 days prior to the event.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to institute a late fee. All in favor?
Aye.
That's unanimous. Okay. We have time to do board member updates now before our hearing. So let me turn first to Donna.
I don't have any.
Okay.
Shorelines is in.
Yes, yes, thank you for that holiday reminder of how to take care of yourself in many ways for the holidays. Okay, Phil.
So in the cesspool category, I got a kind of first edition map from Mike Burrows, which he has used our list to map all the cesspools on that list on a Westport map, so we can kind of see where things are and where there are concentrations and et cetera. He sent me a copy of it, but you can't really compress it to an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, really, and so, but I asked him if he could, and he will, like, produce a larger copy that we could have in our office to kind of look at and then figure out what we want to do. Unless we had the software on our laptops, we can't really like move it around like you can your Google Map, doesn't have the capacity. But anyway, I think that is kind of a first good step. And, like in the context of the Route 6 issue that we were looking at before, you could really see where the clusters were along Route 6, for example. And I also asked him to delineate what the State Executive Office of Environmental Affairs has delineated as an environmental justice area based on low income. So, again, I thought that might be relevant to some decision-making that we might want to make.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one thing on cesspools. The other thing is that, Matt, we got a public information request in from Bank 5. Matt responded to that and sent her a copy, their representative, a copy of the list. She is now discussing with, their kind of marketing group, the letter that they wanted to put together to reach out to all the people on the list. I was reminded in going through the minutes that we wanted our letter to go out. I don't know if has our letter gone out?
Apparently, because we're getting calls.
Oh, good, because, good, so that works. And so I don't want to say, so we established that she is going to keep me in the loop, so I asked if we could get a copy of their letter before it gets sent out. And then, Matt and I there are some various kind of qualifications related to eligibility, which have some flexibility in them, how they're applied. And rather than trying to kind of, or maybe it's ambiguity, but I think it's hopefully flexibility in favor of borrowers. So rather than trying to pin people down, I just requested, that if those kind of issues come up, that we dialogue between us, because whether a system has failed or not is kind of a bit open-ended in their definition, and so that might be something that we could help with. So anyway, so that's moving along, is basically that part of it. And just the other thing, which I will circulate to people on the board, is that with Donna's input and other members of the Climate Resilience Health Committee, I did an updated version of our health report. And just to say that it was, I drew extensively on these two reports that the Commonwealth the state agencies issued a 2022 report on on a climate assessment and a 2023 report that built on the climate assessment that looked at hazard mitigation and climate adaptation. And they're very extensive, and what they've done is regionalized, taken all the relevant climate modeling and regionalized it. So we're in the Cape, South Coast, and Islands region, and so they really kind of took these broad global models and scaled them down to our region, so we have a much better profile of, what the, kind of quantifying, so to speak, what the risks are, how high the temperature will go between now and 2090, et cetera. So I'll circulate that to you.
Oh, that's great.
And we don't have time now, but there's an interesting backstory that I can share with you later about one of the things that happened when I was pulling together the report. So anyway, so that's what's going on with me.
Okay, great. Yeah, so just to follow on, based on, I was going to check in with Roberta about the letter, which was notifying existing cesspool homeowners of the extension of the deadline for upgrading cesspools. But that, because we've been getting calls, we know it's gone out. We had asked for it to go out after Thanksgiving, so I guess it did.
Good, that's
so
great.
That's excellent. I did want to, I don't know, I sort of put this bug in your ear about the map around cesspools. The next phase of that project is the unknowns.
Mhm.
And for instance, one of the ones on the list today that we just approved, Cardozo, was in our records as an unknown. Obviously, they did the cesspool repair, the plan, and it identified as a cesspool. So that's one unknown we now know is a cesspool. So the cesspool numbers are, some of them are getting repaired, but some of them are, we think that a lot of those unknowns are cesspools. And so, particularly in the environmental justice zone, I wonder, that's a lot of work because we're talking about 800 or 900.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. I mean, I think it's a perfectly legitimate thing, to do. I guess, just to say my reservation is, it's like handing, the person who's trying to keep their head above water an anvil in terms of how we manage it, So, we might want to get into shallower waters with cesspools before we really dive deeply into all the
Yeah.
sites that we don't know anything about.
Well, it would be helpful to have a visual image of where they're concentrated. But
Right, yeah, yeah.
But I know that Gabby's working on trying to follow up, sort of research those, and that will take a long time, but
Right.
Get some more information that will help us clarify those.
Yeah.
Okay. Do I have anything else to report? Don't think so.
The unknowns, we don't want to send out a letter saying we don't have any plans for your septic plans for your home. If you have them, could you submit them to us without doing you have to
Right. Yeah.
Right.
just to say we don't have it on file, we need it on file to
Right.
determine what needs to be done.
Yeah, I think that's a possibility. We have to figure out how to manage that and fund it. It's a lot of work, and even postage, we don't have a lot of in our budget, so that is something we've talked about, yeah. I think we're letting Gabby take sort of a first crack at looking at, that universe and see if we can get some further clarifications easily, and then the next phase would be that letter. Since we have that extension on the cesspool deadline, it's now 5 years away. We still have some time to phase that in. There is one more thing I wanted to bring up because it was brought to my attention by a member of the Finance Committee over the weekend that the policy we adopted a couple months ago now, or at least a month ago, about old punch cards that were, for $2 or $3. Well, apparently there was a lot of chatter on Facebook that the messaging was confusing around that, which has been cleared up. But the concern is that people are all of a sudden coming in with bunches of punch cards that would be ostensibly 10 years old, and why people would buy more than one punch card at a time and tie up that cash is questionable. So we need, a couple of things. I've suggested to Matt that we only allow one punch card to be redeemed at a time, because that would manage the workload and reduce maybe the incentives for these punch cards that may be, who knows how they acquired them. And the second thing is to look into either adopting, first of all, considering we may have to go to another price increase for next fiscal year, because we have to more actively take more staff time to manage all the work that's being come our way, but to put on an expiration date and or some sort of watermark to prevent photocopying fraud kind of stuff, which will cost more money, so we may have to factor that in too. So those are things I just wanted to put on the table we'll come back and have a formal discussion about, when we consider fees, but, that's sort of, and of course the finance committee would encourage us to raise our fees a lot, which, to help manage, help fix the budget, help fill the budget hole that the town is in, but we have to balance driving people away from using the transfer station becomes too expensive. So it's a balancing act, and we're right now we're about breaking even. So I don't really want to be that's what we should be doing, and we are doing. So I just wanted to alert folks to that issue, and that we will, if you hear complaints or whatever, let us know, let the office know, and we'll come back to revisit the pricing and the, possible doing expiration dates or some other mechanism for managing punch cards. Okay. Anything else? Any other comments? Anything else?
No, whatever, I'll wait until we have the larger discussion.
Okay.
Yes.
Those are just ideas to put on the table.
Nothing
it's formal. Okay, we are just about a minute shy of 4:30, but I think we can go ahead and call the stable hearing, a request for a stable permit for Michaela Songen at 180 Narrow Ave. A request, this is for 411 horses. Are you Michaela? Come on up. Why don't you sit there? There's a microphone there. We have your application in front of us and some detail, and there are some photos. Yes.
I saw those earlier.
Okay. So why don't you tell us what you're looking for and where you're at?
Okay, so I apologize, I lost my voice, so I might not enunciate very well. So this is, obviously, as you're looking at the pictures, a little farm that I started renting. So I'm just looking to finally kind of have my own stable business. I currently do equine bodywork, so I wanted to tie it into doing lessons and just having a stable. It's like kind of like a childhood dream. Yeah.
So Let me turn first, I guess, to Matt for his report, and then we'll review the request.
So we spoke on the phone this morning, right, about the, when I was reviewing the sketch, about the well being inside one of the paddocks. And so it depends on, I guess, your manure management, or, in my opinion, the well shouldn't be in the paddock, okay? Because of a lot of reasons, but, that's up to the board to decide. Also, when we went out today, just to kind of check on things, you have a permit for 3 horses, but you have 5. So, you're not really allowed to have more than 3, until you have 5, whether you don't have the stable permit yet. So that's kind of an issue we gotta kind of work through tonight. I don't know exactly how we're gonna deal with that, how the board's gonna deal with that. But other than that, the property, the pictures are, great, the property's clean.
Pretty
It's, it's just a matter of, trying to figure out the well situation and the 2 extra horses.
Do I just start?
It's up to the board chair.
I'm sorry, what'd you say?
I said, do I just start talking? I don't know.
Well, let's, you notified all the abutters, and I don't see, unless you're not an abutter, you're a fan, let's say. So that's good. The 2 concerns were raised about the well in the paddock. That is definitely a public health concern for us. And having 5 horses before you're permitted is, not a great look, but, we can address that. We did receive, late this afternoon, an email objecting to your application. I don't know if you heard about that or got a copy of that. So I'll give that to you. Yeah, thank you. I think there's a lot of, there are a lot of issues that are raised in that are, I think, we can talk through. I'm not, I'm quite certain that the property is in Westport, not in Tiverton. But anyways, I'll let you take a look at that. And I'm going to ask, so first, let's deal with the well in the paddock as the first issue. My personal feeling is that that's not a good management plan.
I mean, to be fair, I did not put the paddock there.
Okay.
It's not my fault.
Okay.
But I was prepared, as he warned me, is that I might lose that paddock, which is.
Okay. It could be relocated potentially. Where's my? So that was, so all it.
Everything that's there
Was existing
there.
when you
Yeah.
rented, okay. Was this was it used for horses? What was the prior use before, and how long when did you start renting there?
November. This year, November.
Okay, last month?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
very recent, okay. Do you know what the use was before?
I know a while ago it was an Appaloosa breeding farm, but that was a long time ago.
Okay, I don't know.
I think that picture on the top is from about a year ago, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, because there's no fencing.
Okay, I'm not a horse person, so I don't know what's involved with, like, relocating a paddock. I mean, I assume that's a fenced-in area.
Yeah.
Yeah, so my honest plan was to there's about 12 feet off the furthest point, so of the 100-foot mark that I have. So I was just gonna cut it at that point and make a med paddock, which is essentially a small paddock where a horse can't move much, so that
Okay.
if they're rehabbing,
Okay,
they're just confined.
okay, so, so if I'm looking at this you would say you make it smaller
Yeah,
and just eliminate this part?
yeah.
Okay. And can you talk a little bit about your manure management plan?
Yeah, so I have a concrete pad right now that I've been.
I'm sorry, a what?
A concrete pad.
Concrete pad, sorry, I'm having a
There's
hard time hearing.
Picture of it in there.
Yeah, I've seen that. Mhm.
So I've just been using that, and then I want to ask Milky Way if I can pay them to take it away.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
if not them, my friend has been working with a contractor that's been taking hers away. So,
Okay,
but I figured I'd ask the dairy first.
okay. The possibility of composting it on site is another possibility, I guess. Okay, so the proposal would be to reduce the size of that paddock so that the well is no longer inside the paddock. So that's one thing. Do we want to, it's kind of not fair, you haven't had a chance to review the,
If
um,
you could summarize it, I can try and pick up.
yeah, so let me just, I've never heard of the Lake Pogansett watershed. That's, I don't know what that is. I don't even know that there's a Lake Pogansett in Westport. I've never heard of it. So I don't believe the project is in Rhode Island. According to our GIS, our map, it's in Westport, and I'll trust that. The application, the second concern is you don't have title to the property, but you're a renter, and the property owner has signed the application, correct? That's HUMA governed?
Yeah.
So that's, I don't think, a basis for not approving the permit. In terms of adding 11 horses, in terms of habitat and excess nutrient loading, the most important thing is really how you manage the manure. So this is a farming community, and it's a right to farm community. So our responsibility is to ensure that it's properly managed. And so so one of the things we might request is a written manure management plan. So that would be one thing. I have no way of assessing a forged deed, whatever that, I'm not even gonna go into that claim. And the rest is details about nutrient loads from animals. And again, those are interesting statistics. There's a separate issue she wants to raise about the abutter. We can refer that to the Board of Health. So those are my initial comments addressing the concerns that have been raised. Let me open it up to board members for your input and see where we are at.
So, hello.
Hi.
The way our regulation reads has to do with properly managing the storage of the manure.
Mhm.
So I think keeping the kind of resizing the paddock so that the well isn't right there, I think is a good idea. But I think that for my concern, the bigger part of it is because you're gonna have manure in the paddocks, and I'm assuming you have stalls that you're cleaning out as well, so and so it is more about the idea being that you're you're managing the manure in a way that, at least as far as odors go, but also in terms of, and this is what this letter is really focused on as part of it is, when it's out in the rain, all the chemicals that are in manure, some of which when they enter waterways foul up the waterways a lot. And so a way in which the manure ideally would be managed so that the runoff from the manure would be collected or would be out of, it wouldn't be so much under, direct rainfall. I mean, I think it's more complicated, or it's just removed on a promptly, at least large accumulations of it. So I realize that as a renter, you're not going to invest a whole lot of capital, that might be involved in the other things that I'm talking about. So it seems like the best solution would be a situation where you're able to move off, again, none of us are farmers, I don't know how this works, but, kind of modest amounts of manure, just moving them into situations where they're no longer, in a position to either create odors or to drain into waterways that would be contaminated by it, and that's really the main thing. So I think what we wanted to see is something in writing from you, which would say, okay, here's the plan, I won't collect more than X amount and it'll be in this area, it'll be removed on this kind of schedule, and I contracted, arranged with people to do that, and, if there was something in writing to that effect, we've got an agreement with somebody, or you have a contract with somebody to produce that as part of the application, so we could be assured of that. So that's kind of, I think, what I'd like to see.
Yeah, I can acquire that, that's for sure.
I agree with that as well. I wanted to see something in writing before I would approve.
Yeah,
Okay.
because you don't want us out there doing a lot of inspections just to see what's going on. We want to be able to rely on, the agreements that you have and the applications, the documentations that you filed. I mean, this is just as an aside, but why this is important to us, or an example, is that there was a whole group of dairy farmers individually got together and did a big upgrade on their manure management, and it eliminated just tens of thousands of pounds of nitrogen, which is a contaminant for our river, going into the river, just by how they managed it. So
now what are they doing? Just out of
well, it's a combination of a lot of them, keeping the manure, under covered areas, of collecting the rain off, like if this pad was covered, or as the rain fell, there was a way in which it was drained into, something that then could be removed from the, a tank. I don't really know the details of what they did. It's just saying that it would be really good to be creative and see what you could do about this, that's all.
Yeah, I just because I see the truckloads of
Yeah.
manure getting dumped at the dairy.
Right.
So,
I mean, there's an we have an agricultural commission in town,
yeah,
and it's all made up of farmers, a number of those who have been involved in the project that I would talk about. So if you wanted ideas about what to do, there's a great source of practical information with these
but
folks.
so is that fine though if I have the dairy take the manure?
Say that again, I'm sorry.
Yes,
It's fine if I have the
yes.
dairy next door to me take the manure.
Yeah, you could, that would be great, yeah. I mean, at least you were managing in a way that was proactive. I couldn't say what the dairy was doing, but they're not in front of us now, so.
Yeah.
Right, so yeah, if they would take the manure on a regular basis and it was you were managing it in small volumes, I mean, that would be great. I mean,
Yeah, and I mean,
You
that's
know?
why I like that concrete
Yeah.
pad, because it
I
doesn't
mean,
go
yeah.
into anything.
I mean, ideally, you could say, I'm gonna rent a dumpster, I'm gonna put it in a dumpster,
Yeah,
and then the dumpster's gonna go someplace.
and it doesn't
You
matter.
know, nothing, yeah, I mean,
Okay.
and, so anyway, that's,
All right. so
work
I-
towards that end.
I think what I'm hearing from the board is we appreciate that you're willing to reduce the size of the paddock so that the well is no longer inside the paddock. And I think the consensus is that we need to see a written manure management plan. But that's the contingency for approving. I don't think we need to have another hearing per se.
So if I get it tonight, is it fine?
We can't, I don't think we would issue the permit tonight. We need to see the manure management plan first.
Yeah, but if I get like the thing and get it to you tonight or tomorrow.
Yeah, we're not working too late tonight, so.
No. I just meant like,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
for the following
Yeah.
work day or whatever it is.
So how would the board just want me to review it and then just issue the approval contingent on a manure management plan that was acceptable? Or do you want, I mean, I'm not short of bringing it back into.
I don't
our-
think we need to bring it back. I think we've addressed all the issues.
We haven't addressed all the issues.
Oh, sorry, I thought you had.
Well, I
sorry.
mean,
Okay.
regarding that, but we still have a permit for 3 horses and we have 5 on the property.
Yes. Okay. Can you
So,
temporarily relocate 2 horses until you have a permit for more than 3?
I think I could.
Okay. Then that would be something else. Just, we want to be consistent. Other people, in order to have more than 3, they get the permit first. So, I would suggest that you submit a written management plan and document that you have relocated 2 of the horses until we can issue the permit.
How do I, go ahead.
I just have a question, I just wanted to clarify. So when you're gonna cut the paddock back, the
Yeah.
well will be outside the paddock, but will the well be 100 feet away from your storage area?
From the manure storage?
Yeah,
Yes, yeah, I
okay.
did measure that.
Okay.
And we'll just, maybe we can annotate the plan, the permit application to indicate that the paddock is being reduced in size, just so we have that documentation on file. So we'll, are you comfortable with that? Or let me
Well,
open it up.
Because
if people-
there's 2 extra horses, though, is there something that we need to do regarding that, other than, how are we gonna know that you've taken, the horses are gone somewhere else? How much time does she have to have those horses somewhere else? I mean, I'm just
I
concerned
think-
about that having a permit for 3, but having 5 is concerning to me.
So I'm assuming, because when you submitted the application, you said you had 3, that the additional 2 horses came recently.
Yes, they gave me the first.
Okay. So, my suggestion is, as part of the manure management plan, she documents the temporary relocation of those horses. And I have a feeling she has very high incentive to get a manure management plan to us very quickly and get this resolved, so.
Okay. So do we have to vote on approving the plan contingent on
That's what I would recommend.
what has been requested of her, or required of her?
Okay.
What do you think, Mr.
What are you
Fell?
thinking, Mr. Weinberg?
Well, let's see. I guess what I was thinking was that you would work with Matt, and at the point that Matt would feel comfortable with the content of the plan, that he could, I guess, communicate that to us, but I don't know. I mean, I guess we could,
Would you like to see the management plan, manure management plan?
Why don't, Phil, if it's more comfortable for Phil and the board, when I get it, I'll review it, and call Phil, we can review it together, and if we have any further comment or questions, we'll address it with the applicant and
Right.
just get to make sure it's right, and we can move forward that way.
Let me suggest a motion to the effect of, we will authorize Matt to issue a stable permit subject to the following conditions. The notation of the revised paddock size, an acceptable manure management plan, temporary relocation of those 2 additional horses until a permit can be issued, and submission or review of the manure management plan by board members who, if so desired, as part of that process. Does that address those
We
issues?
don't need to address the letter that, the issues in the letter as well.
I'm comfortable that the property is located in Westport, and we have no, as long as there's an acceptable manure management plan, I think there's not,
The concerns that are expressed are not warranted.
I think that this is a right to farm town. We can't just say, oh, no, you can't have any horses. I mean, I don't think that's,
Well, I don't think we're saying she can't have any horses, it's can she have 11 horses?
I don't think there's a, yeah. Well, we can make a determination separately about any follow-up response to Ms. Hadley.
Okay.
But I think we've addressed the concerns that she's raised.
Yeah, well, I think as a general matter, we're not, offices such as ours are not here to resolve property disputes. So if she thinks it's a fraud, it's a fraudulent deed, that's not us to decide.
Okay.
And I think I think our regulation says that, sets out that they have to, properly manage storage of manure. And so regardless of how much may or may not be generated, if we feel it's being properly managed, then that's what we're focused on. So, and I agree with the chair that, I think it's unequivocal that the properties resides in Westport, it's within our jurisdiction.
I just wanted to make note of that we received a letter against and that we addressed it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, well, I will second the chair's motion.
Okay. So motion has been made and seconded to approve a permit, a stable permit for Michaela Songen at, did I get your name right? I'm looking at your signature, so, at 180 Narrow Ave, for up to 11 horses, subject to the following conditions that we described about the manure management plan, revised paddock size, and temporary relocation of horses until a permit can be issued. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that's unanimous, thank you. Thank you for coming in, Michaela. And you can,
Oh, no, both sides? I don't know.
you can follow up with the office tomorrow, and you had a question?
How do I show you guys the horse things, 2 horses? Like, how do I?
That they relocated, just call us and we'll come down and just check it out.
Yeah, just work with the office to follow up on those issues.
Okay.
You think you can do it within a week?
Yeah.
Okay,
Probably do it tomorrow.
okay, good, okay, yeah, great.
Then we should be able to address, and I hope you feel better soon.
Thank you. And
Yeah.
do I bring the manure, who do I bring the manure sheet to?
The management plan?
Yeah,
You can bring it up to me,
okay.
and this is what you work with. If it happens to be Milky Way, just make sure you have something in writing for them,
Okay.
agreeing to do whatever they're gonna do for you with that.
Okay. That was it, right?
Yeah, any other questions, just ask, you can call the office and ask to speak to Matt. Okay, thank you very
Thank
much
you,
for coming
guys.
in. Okay, I'm going to call the 4:40 PM variance hearing. Len Potter representing Steve Machado at 595 Sanford Road. This is a 3-bedroom repair with from a cesspool to an infiltrated quick 4 on a 13,547 square foot lot. Good afternoon, Mr. Potter.
Good evening. Here's the green card, come up here, Steve. This is Steve Machado, the owner of 590.
Hello.
We had a little bit of difficulty with water testing in Steel Rock. This is the 601 Sanford Road. I gave you kind of a shattered copy of it. This is 601, the neighbor to the south, who didn't want the well tested 2 times and finally decided that they did want to test the well. And it's been tested, and there it is. And you've got a copy of Steve's well, 595 Sanford Road. The neighbor to the north, the neighbors to the north, have a shared well, shown on the plan off the northwest corner of the lot. And that's shared between 358 Briggs Road and 591 Sanford Road. 591 Sanford Road was repaired or successfully replaced back earlier this year, back in April or May, of system 1. The neighbor 350, now that, the board decided to let him put in a denitrification water system, a unit that denitrifies the water. And I guess I'm not loud enough, So anyway, that was done on the 591 property. 358 is the first house on Briggs Road behind 591, and Mr. Machado contacted him about testing the well, and I guess so far he's got nowhere. But we do have a well report on 591 that was submitted to you back at the end of 2022 or early 23. However, your office said that it only included nitrates, nitrites, bacteria. It didn't have the full spectrum. That system has gone in and will be tested. The well will be tested again, the water will be tested again come next April, May of 24, a year after the system has been installed. All 3 wells have nitrate levels, no question about it. 595 has the owner's well is 15 milligrams per liter. 601 has 17 milligrams per liter. So what we're doing is we're replacing a cesspool. If you look at the plan, located to the rear of the home, and then it has 2 fingers that go off it, 2 trenches. So it's an overflow cesspool. We intend to replace that cesspool with a 2-compartment, 2,000-gallon tank to pump up to the leach field that's located behind the former garage building here. And I tucked it away as best I can. I am 89 feet from the owner's well. I'm increasing the distance from the well of 601, which is on this property, 68 feet to the proposed leach area, and I'm going to end up being 86 feet from the proposed leach area with the well for 591 and 358 Briggs. And it's pretty much the best I can do with what I have. It's the only thing I can do with what I have. That's why I'm here, to install this tank and to install the leaching field. And that's my solution to the existing problem. As far as the water goes, Mr. Machado spoke to me, and he knows that the property next door was allowed to put in a water treatment system, denitrification unit. He'd like to do the same thing here, as opposed to putting in a denite system. So at that point, let's open for discussion of the board and issue your comments, whatever you want to do.
Okay. Let me turn first to Matt for his report, and then we'll open it up for discussion.
I think the plan, there's not a lot of space to work with. I think I mean, as far as design goes, it's fine, but I think there's some questions we have that the board may want to talk through about the property. The septic, if I remember correctly, the system's been in failure for quite some time, like 20 years maybe,
Mhm.
the one that exists now on this property.
It's been bad for 20 years?
Yes.
That's news to me. You?
So we were looking in the file earlier and we came across it. It just, so I think the board would have to talk through that. And as far as, there's also a maximum feasible compliance worksheet that needs to be, the board has to address as well.
I did that, turned it in this morning.
Okay. Okay.
What did the letter say? The system failure, or? How many years have you been there?
15, 18 years, somewhere around there.
You purchased the property in 1999 and signed a letter at that time that a Title V septic inspection was not performed prior to the sale, and that both the buyer and seller agreed that the system would not pass inspection. The buyer acknowledges that he's responsible to repair and upgrade the system at his cost within 2 years, in other words, October 25th, 2001, to be in compliance with Title V regulations. So you've been aware of, and that's probably why all the wells are contaminated, because it's not been upgraded. So that's one concern the board needs to discuss in the context of what, I don't disagree that that the location is the best possible place, but in terms of how to address the nitrogen contamination of the owners and abutter wells. And what was the second thing? The maximum feasible compliance sheet, which we got today. You are requesting a waiver due to site water quality conditions. Normally a waiver would be the well shows no sign of contamination, and therefore we don't need to do DNITE, but you're acknowledging that both the owner's well and the abutter's well are well over the 10
Over the nitrate level?
nitrate level.
There's no coliform bacteria? And there's
No, but maximum feasible compliance is for protecting water
If
quality.
it were a direct source of pollution, then I would suspect you'd have bacteria in the wells also, and there are none.
Thank you, Mr. Potter. And financial, and we have a 10% threshold, and it's just below that. So those are the two factors we need to address on the maximum feasible compliance waiver request as well. So let me open it up to board members, what your thoughts are. Who wants to start first?
I'll yield to my colleague to the right.
I'm just wondering why it took so long for you to do something on your septic system.
Part of it is ignorance, because I didn't realize there was a problem. I mean, I used the bathroom, it's working, I figured it's gonna last, but I didn't realize at that time what nitrates or nitrates, I wasn't really aware of that, And I was flushing the toilet, it was working, so I didn't think it was a really big problem. But also in my mind, I thought, well, this is something I have to address, and it just kept coming on, off and off, like we do at times. But I realize now, especially after getting the letter, something has to be done here. There's no doubt about it. Time has come. So that's why I'm here. But I also, sometimes in my mind, I wonder if in 1999, if I would have put the system in at that time, if I wouldn't be sitting here right now doing it again. I don't know.
In 99, we repaired the system with no D9 at all.
Right, and we would have had 20 years of non-contamination, or less
Right.
contamination.
And-
But understood, people, you did get a letter reminding you a year after the deadline, so in 2002. I can't speak, what happened since with the board, not following up, but, so that's water under the bridge, so to speak. We're here now. The question for us is whether this plan without D-Night is an adequate protection of the environment and the wells. And that's sort of at the crux of, I think, of the issue. Because you are here requesting a Title V upgrade without a D-Night. And normally, when we look for maximum, because you are not able to have the septic system 100 feet away from all wells, we look for what's called maximum feasible compliance. I'm sure Mr. Potter explained this to you. Mr. Potter's asking for a plan that is open to question as to whether that meets the maximum feasible compliance criteria. There are exceptions based on financial considerations, and if the water quality was good, we wouldn't be here chewing on that issue. With that said, Mr. Weinberg, any comments?
Well, I mean, let's see. I mean, I think that, there's tension here between our general desire to strive for consistency in how we apply these policies, this policy in particular, in the circumstances here where not so much the history of the case, but the level of nitrates are so high, and I'm assuming, because you haven't raised it, that this is a situation where the well is not upgradient of the septic system. So I don't remember the circumstances under which we allowed the I don't recall.
591.
The 591,
filter.
not to install a system. But, one of the drawbacks of allowing your well to be or your drinking water to be protected, but not addressing the nitrogen at this levels, is that it goes on to contaminate other properties, which may or may not have happened here. And so I think that's, so to me, that is the tension. And I don't know if you remember, Matt, why it was that, or any of the board members, what the particular circumstances were that.
I don't remember the details, but the concern is, putting a denitrification system on this well does nothing to address the nitrate problem in the abutter well.
Yeah, I mean, it's always been, I think this has always been a historic problem, which is that you can't really tell whether that well is contaminated by their house or by the abutting house. And I think our policy has not necessarily, I don't think we apply the policy in the way that, if his house was below 10 and the abutter's house was above 10, that we would still require that, just because, and that,
Well, the abutter well is closer to the system than property owner, so it's higher nitrates level, so it's sort of not dispositive, but indicative of.
the existing cesspool is closer to the abutter than,
601.
uh-huh,
Right, the cesspool on this property is actually as closer to the well at 601 than
Right,
it's going to be.
right, yeah.
And this 358 Briggs Road is 76 plus, it's right here, 86 feet from the proposed leach area.
Yeah, so you're getting further
away.
away from all three wells, which is great. That's a good first step.
Yep.
The question for us to determine is whether that, a standard Title V system meets the maximum feasible compliance in this circumstance.
Well, my feeling is, I guess, that if the answer that we give to this set of conditions is that it's okay to put a treatment system on the well, I don't see how we wouldn't be required to do that in any other situation, because this seems to be a situation where you have extremely high contamination rates. It's reasonable it's a reasonable conjecture that it's contaminating other wells. There's not really, a compelling economic argument or any other argument to do it. So, so it's hard for me to reach that conclusion that because we did it at another site without, that's true, that we should do it for every site. I would just like to point out on the economics part of it, one thing that has changed in the economic calculation, not in our policy, but in the real world, is that now, as a result of an act by the legislature, your ability to deduct costs associated with installation of any upgraded septic system, has gone way, way up. You can take off your tax bill up to $6,000 a year, and a maximum of $18,000. You can carry that over, and so that can take a tremendous dent in the, in your costs, assuming that you have to pay taxes. And it's not like a deduction, and it's a credit. It comes off your tax bill. And so again, because this is kind of a, so again, I'm less compelled by the economic argument when there's someone who's on the border, kind of on the borderline here, because you could actually, it wouldn't, you can take advantage of that, which would more than cover the costs of the O&M, annually, if you just set that money aside.
First of all, just not to be a
Yeah,
smart guy, but first you gotta be able to afford to pay the state. In other words, your tax burden at the state, that would have to be at least $4,000 in order to maximize that. So how much money?
well, if
do
you're
you
paying any, right, I mean, any amount.
Any amount you pay, you're gonna get a percentage of that, up to 4,000, I think it's 4,000 a year. And if it's 6,000, that's
Yeah,
fine.
yeah, yeah,
But
it
he's
is.
gotta make that first. He has to make that bill first.
Right,
Anyone's gonna make that bill first.
right, I agree, it's not, and I
It's not like you're gonna spend 10 and people back.
no, I do agree with that, but,
We're just saying it takes the sting out of,
They
having-
take some of the sting out, but
yeah,
the average
yeah,
person isn't gonna owe the state 6,000.
right,
no.
no,
But it wipes out your tax bill entirely
Right.
if it's less than
Right,
6,000.
right.
That's a pretty good
Right.
deal. And there
Right.
are low-interest loan programs
Right.
available as
I mean, you
well.
can get a, yeah,
Um,
I got the letter last week, so.
yeah, you get, yeah, I mean, so there's
So,
so that's just my
that-
thinking about it, I mean,
Yeah.
I think if we want to, I think if we wanted, to make the decision that that's what we were gonna do from now on, is just allow people to put treatment systems on their wells, then this would be a case that we would do it. If we don't wanna do that, then I think that, we need to take a different path.
right. I would say, me personally, in this situation, because we're talking not only the owner's well, but multiple wells being impacted, or we don't know for sure, but I suspect in those other circumstances, we didn't have well data. If we had well data for abutters that was above 10, I don't think we would have made that same decision. So
Mhm.
I don't know for sure. I don't have that plan in front of us.
Right.
I think agree with you that in this circumstance, a denitrification system would be appropriate.
And I'm also in agreement with that as well. And I just wonder if it was taken care of 20 years ago, whether the nitrogen level.
Well, wait, let's not go into the past, but,
Right.
but going forward, I appreciate that Mr. Machado is taking proactive steps to fix his septic system. But given the sort of the specific circumstances here, and in order to grant the variances, I think we need to see a denitrification system. So, Mr. Potter, how would you like to proceed? I think you've heard from all board members.
Well, what I'd like to do is to address the other variances that I need, which is the distance from the proposed leach area is less than 10 feet from the slab foundation. It's only going to be 5 feet for a portion of that rear garage area, rear garage slab.
Mhm.
So we want to address that. And if we address that and we address the well variances, and then if the board wants a D-night, then I'll have to revise the plan showing a denitrification unit, and Matt can approve it. Rather than come back before the board.
Contingent, I'm
fine with
comfortable with that.
I like coming here, but you know.
Not that much.
You agree, Mr. Machado?
So, not happily, but, I think what a motion would be in order to, that would allow a revised, contingent upon a revised plan showing denitrification. It still will need a 3-bedroom deed restriction and the 3 years of well testing, hold harmless, all those usual things. So is somebody ready to make that motion, or do we have any further discussion?
No, I can make the motion, I think. So I would move to approve a revised plan for the property, for Stephen Machado at 595 Sanford Road. It'd be a 3-bedroom repair with the following conditions: a 3-bedroom deed restriction, local upgrade approvals that would reduce the setback from the SAS to the slab from 10 to 5 feet, the owner's well from 100 feet, distance between the SAS to the owner's well from 100 feet to 89 feet, from the well at 591 Sanford from 100 to 86 feet, from 358 Briggs from 100 to 86 feet, and from 601 Sanford from 100 feet to 68 feet, with 3 years of well testing and a hold harmless, and that the revised plan include a denitrification system consistent with our regulations.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to approve the project at 595 Sanford Road with those conditions. All in favor? Aye, that's unanimous. Thank you. Okay. I'm going to call the 4:50 PM variance hearing, or local upgrade hearing, I think. Jim Walsh is representing Robert Karen at 1435 Main Road. This is a 3-bedroom repair with the cesspool going to a stone bed, 32,400 square feet. Good afternoon, Mr. Walsh. You have the floor.
Okay. Fairly simple, local upgrade approval to put in the watertight sink connections at the septic tank and the pump chamber. all other aspects of the repair meet Title V with setbacks, water table, the whole thing. But both tanks are going to be in the water. So we just want the approval to do the watertight connections.
Okay, turn to Matt for his report.
Yeah, that's not a problem. You have to keep the water from infiltrating the tanks, so this is really the only way to do it. Buoyancy calculations is right, everything else is, on the plan is well drawn, and it does meet Title V, as Jim said.
There's no uphill to move, so
Okay, I have 2 quibbles.
okay.
It could just be hand done. The reference, Title V is now the 2023 version instead of 2016, so just referencing the work complies with the 2023 code.
Yep.
Yep, and then I just, I figured it out. The legend says ST is the existing septic tank, but that's the proposed septic tank. And I think this S here, there's a cesspool, right?
Yeah.
So it should be a C here. It's just that I look at the legend and I figured it out. But so just annotating those minor, again, there are minor quibbles. It's nothing substantive, but just so that we have that accurately represented on the plan with the 2023.
So the
code.
SG should be the proposed septic tank.
Yes, yeah, and the S, that S is really a cesspool, which we're glad to be getting rid of, so that's great news. Okay, any other questions or comments from the board?
I didn't see anything on here that says what's gonna happen to the cesspool. Are you gonna
Oh,
fill?
it'll be,
The cesspool, we're
Yeah.
done, we filled in.
It's
Yeah.
gonna be filled in. I didn't see that, but I would have missed it.
That's generally on the application, and it's on John's notes.
yeah, I think it's,
Some engineers will note it on the plan, but
Yeah,
some
but
don't.
Lenny's plan does.
And Kyle always annotates a cesspool with an S, so.
oh, he
A
does.
circle, yeah.
Okay, good to know. Okay, so we are looking for a motion to approve. This has not gone to Concom, is that correct?
No, it
Right.
needs to go to Concom.
So approval of the local upgrade, subject to Concom, I believe.
And a whole harmless agreement. But I move that we approve the plan for 1435 Main Road, owned by Robert Karen and Teresa Romanov.
Romanovich.
11/1/23, with the variance of a reduction in the separation of the high groundwater between the inlet and the outlet tees on the septic tank and pump chamber from, and you said 12 inches, but what is it to? Do you know how many inches?
I'm sorry.
You're gonna decrease it, it's supposed to be at 12 inches, but it's gonna be less than that?
Yeah, for the connection.
Okay.
Yeah, do we
going
know,
into the
usually
Do
we
you know-
say
Do you
12 inches to like 1 inch or 2 inch,
to what
or do we
inch,
know offhand?
to what? From 12 inches to what?
Well, it's going to vary for each tank, because we're dealing with a 50-inch water table, and that's extrapolated through the system. So if you look at the profile, the inlet for the septic tank is at 76.84. We would subtract 4.17 for the, for the, 0.17 is, 4.17 is the 50 inches. So it would be,
Think it-
it's in the tank, see, it is, brings it up to 76.39 for the septic tank, and
So it's about a half an inch.
76.28 for the pump chamber.
Okay, so
Okay, so less than 12 inches, because
Yeah,
it's
just
not
like
clear.
Yeah.
And then with the following conditions, hold harmless agreement and COMCOM review.
Okay, you could, I'm second.
Motion made and seconded to approve the project at 1435 Main Road, approving the local upgrade approval and those other conditions. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, that's unanimous. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Walsh.
Yeah, one quick question. Do you want the revised thing with
You could just-
that problem, just tell Carl for all future ones?
For future ones, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Motion.
I'm going to call the 5 o'clock hearings for Jill Cremens of 66 Third Street, looking to replacement well 60 feet from the existing SAS. Good afternoon, Jill. So we have received your email, some test results and kind of a sketch of what you're proposing. Why don't you tell us in your own words what the sort of situation is, what you're looking for?
So I've owned this house for about 7 years now. I love it. I love Westport. It's my happy place. But the water quality over the years, because I'm right on the edge of the marsh there, the marsh in between Third Street and East Beach Road, as you can well see.
Yeah.
And the water has, over time, progressively gotten worse. It was brackish to begin with. It is more brackish now. When we have a drought like we did last summer, it is not only salty, but it is also somewhat smelly. So it's less than delicious. It is also doing a great job of corroding my pipes and things like that from the inside out. So can't run the dishwasher without adding a cup of vinegar. Everything's got a coat of white on it from the hardness and salinity. And it's just challenging. So the goal was to drill a new well in the front of the house, which puts me on essentially the same line as everybody else on Third Street. To my knowledge, I'm the only one with a well in the back, correct? Yeah. And I'm the only one that seems to have water problems.
Okay, so let me turn first to Matt.
So, when we did a little bit of research today, when Tanya had come in, we were just kind of looking through this, your proposal and your plan. And one thing did come up that I think we're gonna need to get resolved, which is almost directly across the street, number 59, has a new system going in, a new septic system.
Okay.
It's still being held up, but there's somewhat approved plans. And we don't know exactly where their leaching field's gonna be in comparison to your proposed well.
Okay.
We kinda need to get a measurement of that, just to make sure it's 100 feet away,
Okay.
from the new leaching field.
I found their old site. I was able
Yeah.
to find that, given the information from your office, and you have to go through the woods, but it's basically about 90 feet from the well. But I have no idea what Doris has planned there.
Yeah, so the new plan isn't in the folder because it's still pending.
Yeah.
It said it was gonna be 35 feet away from the street. It's gonna be, if you look at
Yeah.
here, so this is 59, and it looks like from here to the one end of the leach field is 35 feet. So it's gonna go in here, the leach
Okay.
field.
So closer to her house. So
Uh,
this is the existing,
pit,
pit.
yes.
that's
So-
about 90 feet from my proposed.
Okay, so that's gonna be less than 100 feet, which is a problem. I mean,
It's less than, it's.
it's less than
further-
100.
Yeah, it's less
Yeah,
than.
but it's
from
less
my
than,
field,
it's
too.
also less than 100 feet from your well, your septic.
Yeah.
Which you've been hearing us talk about distances from, and what happens to
Yeah.
wells when they're too close to septic systems. So, so that's something we'll have to wrestle with. Understood that the well is currently in the marsh, and, that's a problem.
That's a problem.
Okay, so Anything else from your report, Matt?
So what I would like to see is your new proposed well location staked out yet?
It is.
I'd like to see I don't believe on the other side that it's staked out yet. I'd like to see the engineer put a stake in on the far edge of the leaching field and then go out there and take a measurement between the stakes to see what the distance actually is gonna be.
Yeah.
Right, we're just kinda guessing, it could be 90, it could be 110, who knows?
Mm.
So, we'd like to get that measurement, first, because I'm not really sure. I mean, at the end of the day, her well is gonna be, it's not really, she's putting in a new well, and it's not really gonna affect the person across the street putting in the septic system. It's the person across the street putting in the septic system that could affect her well.
Right.
So anyway, we're just, before, we kind of move forward with and get that measurement.
Okay. It's, based on that drawing, knowing where the pit is, it sounds like it's gonna be a little closer, actually, not further.
Yeah.
But there might be a way that who knows, maybe they can shift it back a little bit, on the other end. I don't know, without looking at it in more detail. That way you could get you 100 feet away from that, their system, and,
Yeah, and
Yeah.
moving it
60
any
feet
further
from-
this way
yeah.
gets it closer, even closer to your system. You can't.
Right. I can't go that way.
That's not good.
Yeah.
How far away, and how far off the property line is it being
It's,
proposed?
the Hadros guys tacked it out, they got as close as they could, so whatever, I'm sorry, I don't know whatever the code is
Okay.
what they got it to, yeah,
Okay.
which is what, 10 feet or something, is it
Mhm.
10? Yeah.
Okay. Let me open it up to board members for discussion.
So, kind of the regulatory context for this is that Title V, which regulates all the septic system, also has a provision that says it's a violation of Title V to construct or install a well within 100 feet of a leach field within the system. The way that we could allow it to go forward under the regulations is under kind of a more formal variance process than the one that you listened to in the previous case. And that requires that we would make a finding that it would be manifestly unjust not to give you the variance, and also that what the solution that's proposed provides equivalent environmental protection. And so I think the fact that, I think everyone should have a right, to have potable drinking water. So I don't think anyone, doesn't want you to not have a potable, good drinking water. I think the more interesting or challenging part of it is how do we get equivalent environmental protection where you're shrinking, you're moving closer not only to your well, but to your neighbor's well, which also could influence your drinking water. And so one way that I think one condition that I've talked to Matt about is to require your well to be tested. But I was going to ask, is this your permanent house, or it's your seasonal house?
It is, so it was originally meant to be seasonal, and over the last 5 years, it's really become my primary residence.
Okay.
I'm actually starting some renovations there so that
Okay.
it will be my permanent.
Okay, good. I just asked that just in terms of
Yeah.
the use how the use you'll get out of it. So, and just to say, so I guess what I had talked to Matt about, which maybe we don't have to decide now, but would be, so normally, well, Normally, when we have a short a distance between the well and a leach field that's less than 100 feet, we have 3 years of well testing. But in this case, just in order not only to protect your drinking water, but the drinking water of anybody who would acquire the property in the future at some point, Matt and I talked about, maybe extending that period or looking at the results from the first, hopefully you'll be really successful and there won't be any impact, but if in year one, you get, completely, so to speak, clean results, but then over the next 2 years, you see increasing levels that suggest that you're getting effluent, because I imagine the groundwater is pretty high here where you are, right? I don't know how deep the wells are.
I don't know either.
But you're right near a wetland, right? I mean, you're kind of in your property's like in a wetland,
Oh, yeah,
so.
paid the flood insurance this week.
Yeah, and so I don't know that we necessarily have to figure all that out now, but, and leave open the potential, looking at the groundwater, the results of the testing, whether we would want to have, a treatment put on the well, or that we would just say, well, what about every other year you test the well, and at some point there might be a trigger point where you really have to address the contamination.
I'm completely open to that. I had said, I think in my note, I understand that I'd need to be testing the water for some period of time, and
Yeah,
if it comes to a point where it has to be better, well, number one, it has to be better than where I'm at right now.
right.
So if it got to a point where I needed to treat the well as
Yeah.
well,
Okay, all right.
I would be open to that.
okay, so,
It can't be my forever home if I can't drink the water.
yeah, right, exactly, yeah.
Right now, the nitrates are really good because you're far enough away from the well. So, I think what we're saying is next steps is to get a measurement. I think Len Potter, I don't know if you were here early enough, the engineer, 2 hearings prior, was the engineer for 59.
Yes.
So, maybe you could reach out to him and see if
Okay.
you can get us, or I don't know whether.
I can reach out to him and ask him to stake out the system over there, or just, put a stake at the far end of the system.
The closest to
Yeah,
66.
and then I can, go out there, when he tells me it's all set, and just run the tape across and just get the distance.
Okay,
Okay.
yes. So let's do that first, and then,
You need a stake where her well is gonna be, right?
it's there.
It's already there,
Okay,
yeah.
good, good.
It's there.
And then the process for a formal variance. What we saw today, despite being called variances, were local upgrade approvals. A formal variance would require a butter notification, right?
Yes,
So it's
Not, if it's a variant, because we're gonna vary it from 029 in the code? Or manifest injustice to do a full variance, is that why we
I
do a full
think the
variance?
rule is, I think the rule doesn't limit it to the, so it's not a local upgrade approval, because it's a full variance, I think you do need to notify the
Oh, but
abutters.
if it becomes a full variance.
Well,
we
it
need to-
is, because
Yeah, then,
it is a full variance.
then we need to notify all the.
So you will
Yeah.
have to call the office and they'll explain the process.
Okay.
And but that's the next step after, let's get those measurements
Okay.
first.
Yeah.
And if there's a real red flag, we'll discuss
Yeah.
it again. But otherwise, we just move forward to a variance process, notifying the butters, and then you make the case. Yep, we have to put in writing.
Okay.
You have to put in writing, manifest justice can help you with this. And then you have to issue a formal finding
Okay.
saying why it would be manifestly unjust not to allow you to have your way.
Okay.
Anything else? No. Nope. So we don't have to take a vote on this right now, we just have sort of next steps for you
Okay.
to get this to resolution.
Okay. I just want to make sure I understand what's happening next.
So I'll talk with Lenny Potter and ask him
Okay.
to put the stake in, I'll measure the distance. Then you would, then if you're gonna move forward with this process, then you have to get an appointment, come back to a meeting, but in the meantime, notify all the butters for the variance, procedure, you know, that we were gonna require. Get all the green cards back.
Okay, can we just, so, one of the unique things about my property is that, you know, I have an abutter on the other side, Schlesinger, and then there's wooded property, so the property that we're talking about, 59, I assume it's directly across from me, it's nothing but woods, it's not developed.
I think
She's
that's,
sort of kitty corner to me,
yeah,
and then to my east is undevelopable land as well, so.
it was just purchased in 2021 for
It was
270.
purchased and they built a house across the street from there and down yet another
Oh.
acre, yeah.
Oh, okay.
So there's really nothing directly next to me.
Then you won't have any
Yeah,
others
other than-
complaining.
Right, yeah. So I'm sort of like, I want to make sure I understand which abutters I need to, because no, yeah.
It's just based on property line, right?
Is it-
We'll clarify for
Okay,
you exactly
okay.
who you need to
Okay.
notify.
'Cause
And it's just a letter saying, this is what I'm requesting. I'm requesting to put this well in this location.
Okay,
You know, it's not really complicated. You don't have to
Yeah.
explain
Okay.
everything that went on here. Just,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
I plan to put in a new well that is gonna be located, you know, in the front of my property.
yeah,
You know, and,
okay,
okay.
okay.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure, it's a
But, yeah.
complicated property
Yeah,
because
Yeah,
there's,
it's bureaucratic
I have-
more.
I know, that's
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, yeah.
We'll get it easy for you.
Okay, all right, so wait to hear from you, or,
Yeah, I'll, you know, maybe I don't know what Lenny needs to go through to get permission to go do that, but as soon as he does, we'll go out there and then we'll get back in touch with you.
okay, all right, thank you very much.
Thank
Thanks.
you. Have a good evening.
Yeah.
Okay, that concludes the hearings for tonight. Get back to my agenda. Have any topics for the next regular meeting or unanticipated? I don't believe so.
I think at one point we were going to talk about the revising the, well, I call it the Fund 20, but you know, the
1%
Oh,
D9.
that's on the agenda,
Oh, okay.
because those are warrant articles that we have to
that's what I.
discuss and approve.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yep.
yep, that's already on the agenda. But
Okay.
thank you for reminding me.
Okay.
You got the language,
I did.
right?
Yeah.
Okay. You're
Well,
on.
if there's no other business, I move that we adjourn this meeting at 5:43 PM.
Second,
Second? Oh,
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that's unanimous. Thank you very much.